Sex is the life force energy that runs through us all. Can you use sexual energy for your spiritual evolution, or perhaps for emotional healing? Is it even possible? Clinical sexologist Dr. Martha Tara Lee will explore all these and more on Eros Evolution on OMTimes Radio.
Hello and welcome to Eros Evolution, where sexuality and spirituality meets. My name is Martha and I am the host of this program. I am a clinical sexologist and I have a private practice in Singapore. It's called EROS Coaching, eroscoaching.com. You can find out more about my work by visiting my website. Today, title of our show is Reimagining Intimacy, how hypnosis helps dysfunction and increases pleasure. Our guest is Amy Marsh, and she will be giving us a very provocative discussion, I hope, on today's show on sexological and erotic hypnosis. What's that? As a clinical sexologist and certified hypnotist, Amy is passionate about the value of hypnosis as a clinical tool, as well as a form of sexual and sensual enjoyment for lovers. Amy will discuss with us her work as the founder of a professional school offering rigorous training in sexological hypnosis. She'll also share with us her experiences teaching erotic hypnosis to lovers. Aren't you all interested now? Further discussion will delve into the realm of erotic imagination and sexual energy, and why this is easy to explore with hypnosis. So who is Amy? Amy Marsh is a board-certified clinical sexologist and AASECT-certified sexuality counselor, a certified hypnotist, and hypnosis instructor. She holds a doctor in education in human sexuality and doctor in human sexuality degrees from the Institute for Advanced Study of Human Sexuality, which is also where I graduated from and which is where I also first met her. So let's welcome Amy.
Oh, Martha, good to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. So tell us more about your work. How did you first become interested in hypnosis?
Oh boy, that's a really interesting story. As you know, at the Institute, there is the sexological bodywork course.
Yeah.
And in that course at the time, Joseph Kramer was teaching it, and he was doing a lot of work around trance states, at least the time that I took it with him. And I didn't take the course because I wanted to be a body worker, but I took the course because I wanted the knowledge, that course could convey about the body and physical responses. But all this work about trance really got my attention. And so after I ended up graduating with the first degree, the DHS, I just went straight to hypnosis school and realized that that was going to be kind of my main modality, because you can reach the body through the mind using hypnosis, but without having to do hands-on work. And there are a lot of people who are not going to want hands-on work, just to be honest.
Yeah.
And I just felt much more comfortable with this idea of using the mind. So that's really how it happened.
Interesting, because I actually, a lot of people don't really know this. I don't really publicize this, but I do have a certificate in hypnosis as well. It's just that I don't have the confidence to do the work. I don't really have the confidence to practice in Singapore, just because I haven't had enough experience and I always want to be good at what I do. So I totally understand where you're coming from in terms of not wanting to do hands-on work. I also don't do hands-on work in my work in Singapore. So tell us more about your training. How does someone get to where you are doing hypnosis for people?
Okay, yeah, and I did remember that you're a hypnotist, Martha, and it's one of the reasons I was excited about talking on the show with you about the topic, because there aren't enough sexologists using hypnosis. It is a valuable tool. How does somebody get to where I am? incredible curiosity, I think. When I took the hypnosis training and began to realize that there was really a more powerful argument in the research literature for the use of hypnosis for sexual problems and concerns, that got me even more excited. And that was actually the process I went through for my second doctorate, was actually to delve very deeply into a literature search while at the same time create this 150-hour course in sexological hypnosis, which I'm using as a way to define using hypnosis for sexual problems, whether it's a dysfunction or transformation or exploration of one's erotic nature, or bringing more pleasure and intimacy into a relationship. So really using the power of the mind to bring that into, the erotic realm in a more intentional way. So how you get there? You study hypnosis, first of all. You study sexology, or first or second, doesn't matter, whatever order. But you really have to have a grounding, I think, in both areas in order to really successfully use hypnosis to help people with their sexual problems.
What are some of the problems that hypnosis would be able to help people with?
Oh, I see several different categories. There are a lot of men with erectile dysfunction, whether it's long-term or temporary. I see a lot of younger men, which is really surprising me, but there are a lot of younger men who are so anxious right now about their so-called performance. And that word alone tells you there's a disconnection between the person and their eroticism and their body, because they're looking at it as a performance. They're really not being present. But these are non-medical instances. I always ask people to go to a doctor first and get checked out. But if it's not a physical problem, it's in their mind and it's in their emotion, what's happening is that their anxiety has put them into sympathetic nervous system mode, which is fight or flight or freeze. And in that nervous system condition, you cannot become sexually aroused. All the blood is flowing away from your genitals. It's not going where it needs to go.
Yeah.
Especially for a man who wants to have an erection. And so the worry undermines the physiological response of the body. So hypnosis can be great for not only teaching relaxation and calming skills, ways for people to come back more quickly to a relaxed state, which means they can therefore get aroused again, but also to explore some of these ideas of worry. And a lot of times I'll do this by using kind of a desensitization process where I'll have them imagine all the different things that make them anxious, around their erection or with being with somebody. And we'll go step by step, the least worrisome things first, getting all the way to the most worrisome, and really kind of rehearse to the point where they can calm themselves down, visualizing each one of these situations.
Fantastic. I can see how that works. It's like preparing yourself mentally for the worst case scenario.
Exactly.
So how many sessions would you think they will need? Of course, it depends on their severity, but like on average, how many sessions would clients come to you for?
For that kind of problem, 6 to 8 sessions at least. And the person really has to be committed to working with the tape or doing self-hypnosis exercises in between appointment times. Another situation that I will see, women who have vaginismus, women who are having difficulty having orgasms, and a lot of women who are very frightened to masturbate. This has been, those are probably, I'll see more people about these particular conditions than anything else at this point, which is interesting to me. Those are the ones involving hypnosis.
So, you probably know this. I work with a lot of women who have vaginismus. So what is the, I guess, success rate? People always ask this.
Success rate. I will say that my most successful, I don't know if I have a number for rate, but I'm going to say the most successful times has been when I'm working with somebody who's also going to a pelvic floor therapist at the same time.
Right.
And so that they're getting their physical responses trained and adjusted, and the musculature is getting worked with from the physical, the physical therapy. And at the same time, then I'm working to help with the aversion and the fear, and also relaxation techniques, because sometimes somebody's body will, be able to get back in shape, but they'll still have worries. It's like, I haven't done this for so long. What do I do? What if it hurts again? So I would say I've had pretty good results, but again, it depends on, is somebody really willing to work consistently and to do things, to do their homework?
Yeah, I can see that. It's like a body-mind approach to overcoming vaginismus.
Yes. And you as a hypnotist and also having the specialty, you could probably be interested in using the hypnosis for this.
I am. I definitely am. I just need more training. I should come to you for training. I had a pretty horrible teacher, and so even though I'm certified, I don't have a confidence to actually practice with clients.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. So it was too bad because it was really expensive.
Oh yeah. The training's not cheap. It's true. Yeah.
Very interesting. So what about people who are afraid to masturbate? What do you do with them?
Well, that all depends on why they're afraid. What is it that's going on for them? And so there may be, now I have to be careful here because I can't stray into psychotherapy, but there are ways to release some of those old memories, perhaps.
Right. Okay, so let's explore more of this after the break.
Wonderful.
The Real Conscious Connection. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Welcome to The Gathering Around My Kitchen Table on Equilarium FM, Wednesdays at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Join my guests as we integrate spirituality into everyday reality with vibrant conversations, inspired interviews, and my latest channeled guidance to inspire and brighten your day. I'm Claire Johnson, and together we'll be raising vibrations across the nations.
The truth is, you can't change the world if you're broke. I know, I tried. Isn't it time you turned your life's calling into a profitable, freedom-based business? I'm Michelle Barr. Join me every Thursday at 2 p.m. Eastern for Sacred Success.
Being a radio host on IOM FM allows you to build your show on a rich platform with the power of the internet to fulfill your outreach goals and connect with a very specialized and global online audience, unlimited by time and distance. OMTimes Radio will provide you with web relevance, a recognizable conscious brand, and with the standard of excellence that has accompanied every single OMTimes endeavor. Host your show with OMTimes Radio Network. Are you trying to get from point A to point B and need a little advice? Connect with the counselors at OMTimes Advisors. Whether you're looking for a life coach or a spiritual intuitive, the advisors participating at advisors.omtimes.com were carefully chosen based on their gifts, skills, and professionalism. OMTimes Advisors, connecting you with the best advisors in the business. Bringing a more conscious lifestyle to your world. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Welcome back to Eros Evolution, where sexuality and spirituality meets. Today we are talking about something really interesting. We're talking about hypnosis when it comes to sex. So we have Amy Marsh, and she's the founder of the Intimate Hypnosis Training Center, which offers extensive professional training in hypnosis for sexual problems and enrichment. She also serves as the online instructor at Sex Coach U and Creative Sexuality Education Corporation. She currently teaches hot and hypnotic workshops on erotic hypnosis. You can find out more about her by visiting this website, www.intimatehypnosistraining.com, or her other website, www.amymarshsexologist.com. So just before our break, we were beginning to talk about how hypnosis can help people who have a fear of masturbation. So if you can just tell us a little bit more about that, Amy?
Certainly. So let's say somebody has been shamed as a child. Maybe they were caught exploring or giving themselves pleasure. And that image and that memory of shame comes up for them every time they decide they want to try it as an adult. So this would be one example. So one way you could handle that in hypnosis is, oh boy, I remember one time I had a client who had been shamed and desperately needed to erase this sort of fearful image and the yelling and the language and the emotion that she felt when she'd gotten caught. And so we decided to imagine a giant fake mustache glued on the face of this person every time this memory came back to her. And this helped her start laughing at the incident and laughing at the person who had shamed her, so that she was able to release a lot of that fear and began to take up a practice of understanding herself and her own sexuality, as well as her sexuality with her partner, in a way that was much easier for her, because she could now laugh at the person and sort of release a lot of that fear and shame that she had felt. So that's an example of a way you can use the imagination to maybe overcome a traumatic incident.
Fantastic. Yeah. I can see how there's a lot of creativity that can go into your work.
Definitely. And the creativity really comes from the client, because it's their imagination and their inner wisdom and their subconscious which offers up these beautiful treasures within the hypnosis session. And then all I have to do really as a hypnotist is hold the space for them once they're relaxed and in a hypnotic state. And by, some gentle questioning or simply saying, "Tell me what's happening now," we can begin to create a transformative process that will release some, if not all, of, so the blockages. I can only describe them as blockages.
Mm. So we have all this amazing content and questions that I want to ask you. But because the show, Eros Evolution, is always exploring the connection between sexuality and spirituality, could you tell us a little bit about where you see the link between the two?
Oh, boy. Okay, another story. I'll try to make it quick. I was one of those people, about 14 or 15 years ago, that had a spontaneous Kundalini eruption. So this is the Kundalini force suddenly erupting through all my chakras and putting me into a very intense kind of a life force and sexual state. And believe it or not, this lasted 10 months. I'll tell you, it was interesting. I was not a sexologist yet, and I had not started studying Tantra yet. It was completely spontaneous, and actually, towards the end, had some elements of spiritual emergency, which, thank goodness, I was able to get some help for. But that gave me a very clear, undeniable understanding that this powerful, sexual, erotic part of our nature is also transformative and very, very connecting to things that are much larger than we are just as individuals, so that we can connect not just with ourselves inwardly, with our partners, and also with, the greater cosmos or whatever you want to call it. If we allow this to be alert and alive and moving in us and through us, I believe that it's probably the major force that fuels whatever spiritual inquiry or practices we're engaged in.
And where would you see hypnosis coming in relation to sexuality and spirituality?
Oh, that's a really good question. I've sometimes done tantric type hypnosis. It's almost like a tantra nidra types of inductions. But I think more to the point would be sometimes people are asked to imagine themselves as a future self, and this is usually a future self that is much more empowered. And quite often these future selves take on sort of like goddess or godlike attributes. Like it may be part of an archetype, for example, that they can see themselves in a certain way and kind of live their present self into this more expansive self, if that makes sense.
I totally can see what you're trying to say. So hypnosis is a tool that can actually bring forth that higher self into the present and heal us.
Yeah, it can. It's very similar to meditation. Of course, it's almost exactly like guided imagery. But it's really using the trance states and the imagination and the energy all together in a way that brings a transformation about. And that transformation can definitely have elements of a spiritual transformation.
Got it. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
So let's explore, because you talked about in the description teaching sexological hypnosis and erotic hypnosis. So what's the difference?
Okay, so I've defined sexological hypnosis as a clinical use of hypnosis to help people with either their sexual dysfunctions or maybe exploring sexual and gender questions or things that they want to explore but haven't yet, possibly dealing with gender issues, supporting people who are gender variant, looking at ways to bring more pleasure into somebody's life, exploring partner issues. So all of those things can be in the category of sexological hypnosis. Again, working very specifically within what's called the Plicit model, so that it doesn't stray into psychotherapy. So it's very contained and managed in that way. Erotic hypnosis is something that I teach to my clients so that they can do it with each other. So just like we can offer Tantra instruction or BDSM instruction or tell people where to go for a nice toy or erotic massage or something like that, the enjoyment of doing erotic hypnosis is actually a really juicy terrain, and it's starting to become a burgeoning erotic movement here in the United States.
I now understand how this difference totally makes sense. So one is the work that I do as a sexologist, working with people with problems. And then the other one is all the fun stuff that couples can do. Is it difficult for people who just want to learn enough to do it with each other to take some classes from you and then begin to be able to do that?
I think it's actually pretty easy. And it just takes, as you said earlier, confidence and practice. So let's say somebody wants to learn how to give their partner a hypnotic orgasm. So no touching, just through hypnosis. That might sound a little difficult, but actually, if you build up to it, you take it step by step, and you develop your basic hypnosis skills and the trust with your partner, and of course cover consent issues, you can actually begin to create physical sensations in the body that are quite pleasurable, only by using the power of the person's imagination. And you can eventually get it to the point where they are orgasmic sensations.
I can see what you mean by yummy and juicy and hot.
It's very yummy, juicy, and hot when people get into it, yes. There's also fantasy that can come into this. People can take wonderful fantasy trips in hypnosis. There can be sort of erotic power play things that can happen in hypnosis. I surveyed 225 erotic hypnotists last year and found out some very interesting things.
Like?
Okay, all right. Well, the hypnotic orgasm, so it's one thing for me to know as a sexologist, well, people are doing this. But it's another thing to find out, well, how much do they like them? How effective are these hypnogasms, if we can call them that?
Hypnogasms.
Hypnogasms, yes. So out of 220 people who answered this particular question I had, 54% used hypnosis frequently to create the hypnotic orgasm, and 34% did it sometimes. And the satisfaction level, 55% were very satisfied with their hypnotic orgasms, and 25% were somewhat satisfied. I'd say that's pretty good for an area that is pretty advanced, actually. I mean, it is an advanced hypnotic technique to cause a hypnotic orgasm. The other things that people were using hypnosis for, let's see, there was one woman who absolutely astonished me with her creativity. She was in a long-term monogamous relationship, and she indicated in the survey that she created she allowed different personality traits in her lover to emerge under hypnosis, so that when she had sex with him, it was like she was having sex with a different person, but it was still her monogamous partner. They did not stray. So I thought, well, that's a really interesting way to get variety in a relationship that's long-term and monogamous.
Yeah.
Other people are using hypnosis in kind of a kinky mind control way. They're playing the game. Whenever I describe hypnosis to people, I always tell them about the myths of hypnosis. You cannot get stuck. Nobody can control you. You're not going to say secrets that you would never tell under hypnosis. It doesn't really work that way.
Yeah.
But for some people, this mind control game that they like to play together, they kind of make the myths become the true hot part of what they're doing.
So let's continue to explore more about hypnosis after this break.
Okay.
Your conscious connection to a more mindful world. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
If you remember living fearlessly, joyfully, and in a world filled with adventure, happiness, pleasure, and unbridled living, then this show is for you. Join me, Dame Nicole Brandon, as I bring you the world's top experts in wealth, creativity, flow, seat-edging technology, space, wellness, health, love, lust, and passion, all merging together each week here at the Hub of Happiness. Mondays at 6 p.m. Pacific Time and 9 p.m. Eastern Time on Passionate Living, where you can ride on the magic carpet ride of living and learn how to lead a passionately wild, exciting, and outrageously amazing life.
Do you want to be a better communicator? Do you want to better connect with the important people in your life? Do you want to enrich your relationships? If so, join me, Matthew Cooper, on the Positive Control System Show every Wednesday evening at 11 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time on OMTimes Radio. I'll meet you there.
Host your show on IOM FM, the radio network of OMTimes Media, one of the more recognized brand names in the conscious community, and is backed by the extensive marketing reach of OMTimes. Hosting a show on IOM FM immediately connects you with our extensive dedicated community. What if business could be fun? What if business is the adventure of living? What are you choosing? Where do you do business that makes it easier, more fun, or more joyful for you? We'd love to see where you do business. Connect with us on Instagram at Joy of Business or Twitter at Joy of Business, and share your pictures with hashtags BusinessDoneWhere and Joy of Business. Let's change the world with business. Your conscious lifestyle on steroids. OMTimes Radio, IOM FM.
Welcome back to Eros Evolution, where sexuality and spirituality meets. You are listening to Eros Evolution on the OMTimes Radio Network, and you can share this show with your friends right now by sending them the link omtimes.com/mobile. Our mobile player is so advanced, it doesn't need an app. You just need the link, and you can try it now, and I'm sure your friends will love it too. We are with Amy Marsh, and she is a contributor to the Cultural Encyclopedia of the Penis in 2014 and Rachel Pepper's anthology Transitions of the Heart in 2012. She has published online in the Erotic Journal of Human Sexuality, the Right Sex blog, and on WordPress. National television appearances include Good Morning America, The Tara Banks Show, and 2 episodes of the National Geographic Taboo. If you want to find out more about Amy Marsh, you can check out her website, dramymarshsexologist.com, or her training program that she's offering, intimatehypnosistraining.com. She is actually offering listeners a discount where if you sign up for her 300-hour or 150-hour online training, you will receive a $100 tuition discount if you email her and use the code Eros Evolution discount in the subject line. So you can email her by emailing this dr.amymarshsexologist@gmail.com. So do get this discount, and you can get this program for $100 discount off 300-hour or 150-hour online training until June 15. So just before a break, we were talking about Amy's study on how she surveyed 225 erotic hypnotists last year, and she was sharing some of the very interesting stories and findings that she found. Is there anything else that you would like to talk about with regards to this study, Amy?
Yes, and I want to make it clear that it was really a fairly informal survey, so it doesn't really qualify as a study. It was giving me a look at, in a more casual way, what are people actually doing? I sort of saw it as a precursor to, maybe a really good study down the line. But it's still good data, interesting data. And yes, there's a lot I'd like to say about it. I kind of went for the most sort of spectacular thing first by bringing up the hypnotic orgasms, but there's a lot of other things that you can do, other kinds of sensations you can create. You can do hypnotic bondage without any sort of equipment at all. You can have somebody just simply feel sensations of tingliness or heat or cold or tickles. You can move these sensations around the body. It can be kind of a flirtatious foreplay kind of interaction. As I mentioned before, people can create fantasy scenarios in hypnosis and enjoy them. That could be either a form of foreplay or in and of itself a satisfying erotic experience. And you can also do a lot of bonding, intimate bonding, simply by having a lover close his or her eyes. You help them into a mild trance, and then you say appreciative, wonderful things to that person for 5 minutes. And then you let them come up out of hypnosis. They do the same thing to you. Imagine if you had a relationship where you did that on a regular basis with somebody, and those words sink so deeply into the subconscious mind, it's much easier to believe them and believe that they're meant, because sometimes people have barriers against. They may hear something good from somebody they care about, but not really believe it because of things in their lives. Yeah. So you can just create a lot of bonding experiences using hypnosis in a very light way. We're not talking about deep trance here. There are different trance levels, but we're really talking about something fairly light. And so, yeah, these are just some of the many ways that hypnosis can be brought into a relationship to really help it out. Also, just relaxing people. Busy, hard day at work, do a little hypnosis first. Do some relaxation and then pick up the sexual energy and then make love. Why not?
Fantastic. You know, I know of people who come home who are busy, tired, stressed, overwhelmed, and they're just not in the mood for sex. And so hypnosis can be a way to help them be able to compartmentalize between work and personal time.
Exactly. Yeah. And they can use that hypnotic time to kind of get reconnected with their erotic selves, because a lot of times that's a part of ourselves that we have to put off to the side in order to, conduct business, go to work, be at meetings, and so on. Sometimes we forget to pick that part of ourselves back and bring it home to us.
Fantastic. So are there any safety issues when it comes to hypnosis?
I think the biggest safety issue has to do with trust. You really have to trust the person that you're working with, whether you're going to be the hypnotist or the hypnotized person, or if you switch off. You want to make sure that whatever kind of hypnotic script the hypnotist is using is one that meets the needs and desires of the person being hypnotized. So making sure that there's good conversation ahead of time. So this is more consent maybe than safety issue. But with safety, there aren't really any dangers of hypnosis for most people, except that people who have certain kinds of psychiatric disorders, who may be psychotic or schizophrenic, actually really shouldn't be engaging in hypnosis. That would be probably the biggest reason to not do hypnosis. Now, sometimes people go into hypnosis and something comes up for them and they can be very emotional, or they can have what's called an abreaction, a bad reaction. They get emotional, or maybe their head starts moving around and they seem like they're in distress. And so I would say a really important thing is to work out ahead of time, if somebody does have a reaction like that, what is the appropriate thing to do to calm them down and work that out between yourselves. So do you hold the person's hand? Do you bring them out of hypnosis? Do you touch their forehead and sort of calm the head movements? Do you bring them a glass of water? Do you have a hypnotic suggestion ready to use in that instance? So just being a little proactive and prepare for possible abreactions. It may not ever happen, but sometimes it can.
Could you elaborate a little bit more about consent?
Yes. I really see the erotic hypnosis interaction as one where there are conversations taking place first before you even start practicing and playing with hypnosis. And so you would not, for example, as a hypnotist, want to have somebody imagine a fantasy that is very disagreeable to them, or to imagine a sensation that they're not going to be able to handle or that they don't desire. And so there has to be a real agreement and an understanding as to what's really, what do you want to experience in that session. The best way to do that is really to write a hypnosis script ahead of time. So you have the induction, how you get somebody into hypnosis, how you get them to relax, and then you have what's actually going to happen in that session. And then you have a little script to count them up out of hypnosis. So it's a courtesy. People will come out of hypnosis themselves, but it's a courteous thing to have a beginning and a middle and an end so people know what's going on. And let's see, I'm not sure what I want to add to that. It is consent, though. You work it out ahead of time. That's the best way.
So there are no surprises?
No surprises, because that will diminish the trust, and it will make the process not fun, because then people will start to worry about it. And if they worry, it's harder to relax, or you're going to have to work harder to relax them. If the last time, let's say, for example, your partner has an annoying habit that you'd really love for them to quit. Well, it would be a big mistake to have a lovely erotic hypnosis session and then in the middle of the session insert a suggestion that they're going to always pick up their socks. That's going to blow it. That's going to ruin the mood, and it's not fair, right?
That's manipulation.
Yeah, so you have to make sure that everything's agreed upon, and so that it is an enjoyable experience. It's fun and it's not work. It's pleasure. It's not a chore.
What do you have to say about the belief around the brain is the biggest sex organ?
I think that's completely true, actually. Absolutely. I mean, I know that you and I both learned at the Institute about an incident where, or maybe several incidents where quadriplegics who had no feeling in their genitals were able to orgasm from some other part of their body. You remember hearing that? Because I remember
sure.
that really clearly. So that's even without hypnosis. So somehow the people who were disabled in that way were able to train themselves to feel the sensations and increase them enough so that they were orgasmic just by using their focus and concentration and their imagination in their brain. If we can imagine it, we can feel sexy about it. And if we imagine it, we have created a neurosignature in our brain that is the same as if we've actually experienced something, and vice versa. So in a way, our mind doesn't really know what's real and what's not, because the same part of the brain is firing up and alive. And so I think the mind has everything to do with sex.
Yeah, I like what you're saying, neurosignature. That's a new word for me.
Oh, so it's like the more you do something, the thicker the connections are between the different nerves involved in the part of the brain. So a neurosignature is kind of the pathway that's laid down when you have an experience or a thought.
Yeah. Neural pathways?
Neural pathways, neurosignature on the neural pathways, yeah.
All right, cool. So far, we've been talking with Amy Marsh, and we've been talking about the difference between sexological hypnosis and erotic hypnosis. And she's been clarifying some myths that people might have around hypnosis. I can now begin to see how hypnosis is an enabler of greater sex, and it can help a lot of people who have problems with their sexuality, or even just simply need hypnosis as a way to relax. It can also be used as a way to put your partner into a light trance and then give appreciation, and this will really allow them to be able to receive it a lot more. So if you like what you're hearing about Amy Marsh, please remember to check out her website, intimatehypnosistraining.com. And we'll have more of Amy after this break.
Feed your soul with waves of consciousness on OMTimes Radio. Join Elliot Jollish, the business therapist, each Tuesday at 5 p.m. Eastern for the Elliot Jollish Hour, as he interviews business experts on your behalf. And you're invited to email your business questions to questions@ecjgroup.com for answers, live, on air every Tuesday at 5 p.m. Eastern on the Elliot Jollish Hour.
Matt Connerton here. Join Jen Coffey and I twice a week for Matt Connerton Unleash, a political talk show that's a little different than what you're used to. No liberal or conservative agenda here, just an honest dialogue about truth and how things really work in the world of politics. Matt Connerton Unleash, every Tuesday and Thursday night at 11 p.m. Eastern on OMTimes Radio.
Being a radio host on IOM-FM allows you to build your show on a rich platform with the power of the internet to fulfill your outreach goals and connect with a very specialized and global online audience, unlimited by time and distance. OMTimes Radio will provide you with web relevance, a recognizable conscious brand, and with the standard of excellence that has accompanied every single OMTimes endeavor. Host your show with OMTimes Radio Network. OMTimes Magazine is one of the leading online content providers of positivity, wellness, and personal empowerment. A philanthropic organization, their net proceeds are funneled to support worldwide charity initiatives via Humanity Healing International. Through their commitment to creating community and providing conscious content, they aspire to uplift humanity on a global scale. OMTimes, co-creating a more conscious lifestyle. The best of holistic, spiritual, and conscious world. OMTimes Radio. IOM-FM.
Welcome back to Eros Evolution, where sexuality and spirituality meets. We have Dr. Amy Marsh, who has a private sexology and hypnotism practice in the San Francisco Bay Area. She's currently working on a how-to book about erotic hypnosis. So I'm very curious about the classes that Amy is running. So tell us more, Amy, what are your classes like?
Okay, so I'll talk first about the hot and hypnotic classes, because those are the fun on-site workshops where people will come and we'll spend all day going through the basics of hypnosis in the beginner class, and in the intermediate class we get a little more advanced. But we talk about basic hypnosis concepts, we get to try different hypnotic techniques. Everybody gets a chance to both experience being hypnotized if they want, and also to try hypnotizing another person. And I make it a very comfortable situation. Nobody has to feel like they're on the spot, because I say, look, you don't have to worry about if you're actually hypnotized, just pretend. And that allows everybody to relax and just practice their skills. And we'll talk about some of the consent and safety issues. We'll talk about the possibilities, including sensation play, fantasy play, hypnogasms, intimacy and bonding, and so on. And generally just try to have a really relaxed time, but still get through the material. And people leave pretty empowered, usually ready to try it with the partner at home.
So is this online or in a physical classroom?
I do have an online erotic hypnosis class at Creative Sexuality, but the ones I'm talking about right now are actually my workshops. Now, the other classes I have, the extensive professional training classes, are really geared towards helping professionals, either hypnotists who want to learn more about how to do hypnosis within a sexological grounding, with a foundation of sexology, or sexologists or sex therapists or social workers, whatever, who want to learn hypnosis as a skill, or maybe upgrade their skills if they already know it, and then learn specifically how they can use this in a clinical situation to help their people with sexual problems. So that's online. For people who actually want to get certified as hypnotists through the National Guild of Hypnotists, they actually have to come to a 10-day on-site course. But that's optional. Not everybody needs that or wants it. So the main part of the course material is delivered online.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so anybody in the world can take it. I've had students from Portugal, London, Greece, all over the United States. Nobody from Singapore yet. And, I think that it's a 15-week course. It's pretty intense, but it covers what it needs to.
Mm. And what are some of the reasons people take these courses?
Well, they may be working in sexology or sex therapy already, and they'd like to add another skill to their toolkit, or they're hypnotists, and maybe they haven't really had any training in human sexuality, but they've got clients coming to them who have sexual problems, and that they have a limited background in how to do that. And that's a case where they're just probably operating from their own understanding of what's normal or usual or appropriate, and they haven't had the advantage of a broad-based immersion in sexology and human sexuality, which we know is so important in this field.
Yeah, indeed.
Yeah.
I once had a client who, well, not really a client, it's more like an inquiry, who said that hypnosis cured him from being gay. I don't know how that worked.
That I would not recommend anybody trying. Here in the United States, there that kind of so-called reparative therapy of trying to change somebody's orientation is considered unethical. The major professional associations of psychology have come out against it now, and there's actually law in California. So I would never recommend anybody trying to use hypnosis to change anybody's orientation and preferences.
Great. It's good to put it out there. I was pretty horrified when I heard that.
Yeah.
I just didn't know what to say.
Unfortunately, that's part of the dark side of the history of hypnosis. In the past, people tried to use hypnosis for that kind of thing, and sometimes with shock treatment in addition to hypnosis. I mean, there's an awful history there. And I think it's one reason that some people have some fears about hypnosis, because in times past it has been misused or misapplied.
So moving on to happier stories, what are some of your most interesting hypnotic experiences?
I think some of the most interesting experiences I've had, one was with a journalist who wanted to write an article, a young woman, and she wanted me to give her some type of erotic hypnosis experience. This was tricky for me because I don't do erotic hypnosis with my clients. And so I chose to let her take a fantasy trip where she had the ability to imagine a hallway, and the hallway had all kinds of doors. And all I did was say, okay, you get to open whatever door you like, go in, have a wonderful time. And she didn't have to tell me about what was happening. And then there was a point where I'd say, okay, now bring this to a close, come out, go down the hallway, open another door. I think she had 3 different wonderful times during that session. But it was only her imagination, operating at that point. I was just sort of guiding her to the hallway and telling her to open the door and then come out again. But what she had to tell me afterwards was so interesting. And she found at one point that she was with 3 different versions of her sweetheart, and at another point some other things were going on, and she was astounded and having so much fun by the rich content of her own subconscious being allowed to come out and play. And I thought, well, this woman has an incredible imagination. But for me it was so interesting because she surprised herself and really gave her a lot to think about. Another experience that I had personally was I went to an erotic hypnosis conference in San Francisco a couple of years ago, and there was a man who'd written a book, one that I like very much. He was there with his wife, and they'd clearly been working together for a long time, and so he could just pass his hand in front of her forehead and say the words pleasure like that, and she would melt. You could see that she was enjoying herself so much. Well, he did a group demo. And so I sat down, I'm one of the people willing to be demonstrated on. And I had never met him before, but he came along and he did that sort of pleasure thing. I think he actually put his hands on my head at that point. And I could feel myself going, oh. I mean, it worked. I mean, he kind of set me up for it by watching the demonstration with his wife, which was actually a really interesting hypnosis lesson, because the demonstration in itself was a suggestion to the rest of us that it would really work. And hypnosis suggestion is everything. You want it positive. You want it linked with vivid images and emotions that make you feel good. And that's when it's going to work.
Fantastic. You're making hypnosis sound so great.
It's fun.
Oh my God, it's making me so curious, and I want to go back and get more training on hypnosis, because I don't think I was quite so confident after my training.
I'm sorry you had a bad experience with that.
Yeah.
That's terrible. I'm so sorry.
Well, thank you so much for being on this show.
Oh, you're welcome. It's been a total joy.
Thank you. So you can learn more about Amy and her classes at the Intimate Hypnosis Training Center by visiting www.intimatehypnosistraining.com. So until June 15 this year, middle of next month, Eros Evolution listeners can receive a $100 tuition discount if you enroll in the 300-hour or the 150-hour online training. So to get this discount, you need to write to dr.amymarshsexologist@gmail.com and use Eros Evolution discount in the subject line. You can also find out more about Amy's work by checking out her website, www.dramymarshsexologist.com. So this has been Dr. Martha Tara Lee, and this month, as you know, is May, and that is Masturbation Month. So you can sign up for all my juicy, yummy campaigns that I run, that I offer for free by going to this link. That's www.eroscoaching.com/subscription-options. So I have several campaigns going on. That's Masturbation Month. I also have an eco-sex campaign, Fabulove. I also celebrate love through my Mother's Day and Father's Day campaign. So please check it out. And you can subscribe to my mailing list. And I am doing crowdfunding for my second book called Orgasmic Yoga right now. And you will get an email going out in a couple of hours talking about how you can help fund my second book. So next week, we have another guest, and he is Reverend Paul Baggett, and he'll be talking about repressed sexuality in the 21st century. He'll be discussing the causes and effects of repressed sexuality on today's women, where it came from, and how this has affected our sexual growth and personal empowerment. He'll be providing tips on opening up ourselves sexually and feeling empowered. So this has been Eros Evolution, and this has been Dr. Martha Tara Lee with Amy Marsh. So thank you for listening. See you next week.